Hey, welcome back to Bobb-z Callahan's Word of Advice. And for today's Word of Advice video, I wanted to tackle the topic of driving on snowy or icy roads. And one of the reasons I wanted to bring up this topic is because, well, at least here in the United States, it is already early December. Boy, I can't believe how fast time flies, but yes, it is early December, and at least where I am, it is starting to snow a lot earlier this year. And of course, when it starts to snow and it gets really cold, sometimes the roads will either be a little snowy or they could even be a little bit icy. And when you have to go out and drive somewhere and the roads are not in the greatest of conditions, we know sometimes that can be a little challenging and maybe a little bit discouraging. And I just wanted to offer some advice when it comes to driving on snowy or icy roads, because odds are if you are someone who gets their driver's license, it is likely that you will have to drive on a slick road. And whether it's snowy or icy, odds are you'll have to drive on a road in that kind of conditions at some point in your life. And one of the things I would recommend now when it comes to driving on a snowy or icy road is not driving as fast as you normally would when the road is totally fine. And the reason I suggest this is because when a road is snowy or icy, sometimes it can be a little bit harder to put on the brakes and stop your car. When we are driving on a totally dry road, like on a hot summer day, and it's not slick or anything, usually it's easier to stop if your car has good brakes and, of course, when the road isn't slippery at all. But when the road is snowy or icy, it can be harder to stop. And you never know when you're going to have to put on the brakes. There could always be that time when someone either tries to merge in your lane and they're not looking, and they might try to run into you, or they might accidentally run into you, that's what I mean. Or there may be a time when someone is backing out of their driveway and they don't see you, and then you got to put on the brakes. When we are driving, you just never know what could happen. And there are going to be times when we'll have to put on our brakes. And I suggest driving a little bit slower on a snowy or icy road, because that way we're not going as fast, and if we're not going as fast, at least that'll help us a little bit if we have to put on our brakes unexpectedly. So definitely try to drive just a little bit slower, so in case you have to put on the brakes, then you'll be able to stop your car and you won't wreck into anybody or anything. And also, if the roads are really snowy or icy, another thing which I would recommend is that you try to drive to your destination on flat roads. So try to avoid any road if possible which has a lot of hills, because when we are driving on flatter roads, then we kind of have an advantage opposed to driving on steeper roads when you have to go up a hill or down a hill. If you're going up a hill and it's snowy or icy, who's to say that your car is going to make it up that hill when the roads are really bad? Or on the flip side, if you're going down a hill and it's snowy or icy, who says that it's going to be as easy to put on the brakes or control your speed when the road is really icy or snowy? If you were on a flatter road, yeah, the conditions may not be great if they're snowy or icy, but you don't have to deal with that problem of making it up a hill or losing control going down a hill. when the roads are icy or snowy. If it is possible, I would definitely recommend trying to, maybe get on the internet and trying to get to your destination by looking for other roads which are flatter. Or if you can already think of some roads that are in your area and they're flatter, I would definitely recommend driving on those roads whenever it gets snowy or icy outside. Because I do believe that you have an advantage when you are driving on flatter roads opposed to the hilly roads whenever it's icy or snowy. Overall, I know it's not fun when it comes to driving on icy or snowy roads, and some people really despise it more than others, but odds are if you have your driver's license, then there will most likely be a point in your life when you'll have to drive on an icy or a snowy road. I've done it before and it's not always fun, but I have tried to drive a little bit slower, and I have tried to take flatter roads whenever possible, and so far I can say that I have never gotten into a wreck whenever the roads have been really bad out. This is what I would recommend for any driver out there whenever the roads get bad. So in the end, remember, try to drive just a little bit slower and try to take as many flat roads as possible whenever the roads get snowy or icy, and I do believe that if you do that, then you should find very good results whenever you are driving on snowy or icy roads. And so with that, I certainly hope what I've had to talk about in this word of advice video will come in handy. Be safe out there when you're driving on snowy or icy roads. Be sure to come back for another word of advice video.